Hi guys, this is a really quick video just to show one of my subscribers. I am Scrappin' Happy, I think her name was. She asked how I put my book pages in my journals so that they read the correct way instead of in the journals. Like sometimes you see them in journals this way so that the writing is not the correct way, so they're horizontal instead of vertical. And what I've done for this particular book, this page was actually a double page, so the other side of this page in the signature is actually the same book because it's a double page. And oops, let me move that. So what it is, this type of book, it was an older book. Sorry about the lighting. I know it's really dark in here. This was an older book where it's got stitching. So when I took it out of the hardcover, you'll see that there's actual stitching in the book. So you can actually lift these up. I just use a seam ripper for sewing and just snip them up like that. And this book was actually really good. It was quite easy to get them out. And so the pages already come out double like that. Now, if you're not lucky enough to have a stitched one, so something like, my goodness, I was going to be prepared and I'm so not. So something like, you might have an old novel where it's just actually glued in, and it didn't have a hard cover, it had a paper cover. And something like a lot of the old encyclopedias and stuff like that are glued in, so it's really hard to get them out to stay in that double open page to put in journals. So these particular ones, you can still rip them off and put them in your journals so that they read this way, but you just have to be a little bit creative sometimes and think of ways around it. Look, I'm sure there's probably better tutorials on YouTube showing you, but what I usually do, if I want to put in a single page, and it may not just be a single page out of a novel, it could be any type of book, or could be a picture or a pocket or something that you would like to still open out that way. I just usually cut a little piece of scrap paper. This paper is actually a little bit thicker, and fold it in half and just make like a little hinge so that you end up with something like this. So this is 2 pages out of this book, and all I've done is put the 2 pages side by side. So let me get another one. So I've put the 2 pages side by side, and I've just run a strip of glue down each side, and I've just pretty much glued that on as a little hinge. When it's dry, just fold it in half and you'll get that. So this one, fortunately, the paper is kind of the same color, so you can't see it too much. But even if you can, it doesn't matter. If the color is different, it could be pattern paper, it could be, you know, yellow paper, it doesn't matter. It's a junk journal, so there's no right or wrong, and it's a junk journal, so it doesn't really matter if it looks junky because it's supposed to. So this one has a little seam. I didn't put a little hinge in on the other side because I don't want it to get too thick, but that'll hold up pretty well. Just a bit of PVA glue or tacky glue, whatever white glue you've got. So that's one way, is just to put a little hinge. Sometimes I also sew them, depending on the thickness of the single page. You can sew them as well. Something like a novel like this, the paper is a bit, it's not thick enough, and it can tear really easy. So I wouldn't sew this one, but sometimes you've got like thicker pages. Something like this. This was out of a really thick gardening book. And if I had a single page in this same material, I would probably just stitch it. So I just sew zigzag straight down there and then on the other side to make a double-sided page. That's one way. Another way is you can use a little bit of material. So sometimes, in addition to these, you might have pages like this, you know, that you rip out of a ring bound book. This is a music page, and this is a page out of an old diary. So they're single pages. I mean, you can fold them and put them in pockets and stuff for extra journaling space. But if you do want them to open like that, now up to you which way. I don't mind the look of this. I actually like this. And I don't cut these little perforated pieces off. I leave them because I like my journals really junky. But I know a lot of people don't. So you can trim that off if you want or leave it. So this is 2 pages that were out of a ring bound book, just like these 2. And I've left the perforated on the outside. And for this one, I've just glued a little strip of scrap fabric on either side for this one. And so it's really sturdy. And you can then put that in your book the correct way up. And that's what I often do with this music paper because it's quite thick. I just strip of scrap fabric both sides because I think the music paper looks really nice when it reads the right way up and not that way. And the scrap fabric, I just leave a little bit overhanging from the top and bottom because when it goes into your junk journal, that'll just peep out the top and look really, really nice. So that's one way. That's my favourite way. Sometimes I stitch them as well, depending on, again, on the thickness of the paper. So that's that one. Now, aside from pages, sometimes I do a similar thing where I want to open it the correct way, but it's not for pages. So something like this. This was a little, it's kind of like a seed packet, but it had a little crocheted brooch in it. It came in a crochet magazine, and I've trimmed the top off when it's been opened, but I wanted it to just stay right way up as a pocket in a book. And I mean, you can glue it down to an existing page in your journal, but for this one, it had a really cute little cherry on the back that I wanted to keep. So I just got a scrap of the thick paper from a gardening book and I just stitched it down the side so that when it goes into the journal, it'll open the right way out and I can put something in that little pocket. If this wasn't on the back, I probably would have just been lazy and glued it straight down to an existing page in the journal. But I don't mind that you see the stitching, and this one, because I've put the page so far over because I wanted this to be a little bit wider in the book, I've then just put a little bit of glue under this little bit here. Otherwise it would be, you know, you can lift it up, which is fine. You can leave it like that, but I've just glued it down. So that's that. And I do it, okay, I do it with other weird random stuff as well. So if you make journals, you've probably got these awful little plastic baggies. So I buy book corners, the metal book corners from overseas, from China, and they come in these little bags. And because you can't get them anywhere in Australia other than from overseas. Or maybe you can. If you're in Australia and you know where I can get them, put a note in the comments because I'd love to know. But The only place I can find is from China. So these little baggies, they're a bit thick because they've got bubble wrap in them. And it's a bit hard to pull them out. They're glued down the bottom. You could probably get it out, but sometimes I use those in my journals instead of putting it down on a page because it's a bit thick and spongy already. I don't want to make it any thicker. I just do something similar like I did with this little seed packet. And for this one, I had a pretty little page. It was out of a painting book. How to paint little flowers. And so this baggie, I've actually just taped it on the other side so that when it goes in the book I can open and close. Actually, I lie. I did sew it, but then my bobbin ran out of thread halfway down the page, of course, and I didn't notice, and I kept stitching to the end, so I had all these little holes, these little pock marks. So I just stuck some tape over the top, and as you can see, I didn't even tape that down properly because it's crooked and bumpy, but you get the idea. So this will go into a book like that, and my little pocket will be up there. And my idea for this was I wanted to put I wanted to put some pens in it because I'm sick of, like, in my journal when well, I don't do journaling. I make journals, but I don't actually journal. It's more things I need to do so I don't forget. Because, yeah, I'm a bit of a ditz. If I don't write it down, I'll forget. I'll probably remember like 3 weeks later. But if I don't write it down, I won't remember I need to do that today. And that's why this little video is about a week and a half late because I forgot all about it. Sorry. Yeah, so for this one, I was just going to stick some pens and a highlighter that I always use in here just so it can go into my journal and open out in and out the same way. Because every time I go to write something down, then I'm looking for a pen. So that's just going to go into a book like that. But I hope that answers your question. I am scrap and happy. For the most part, I cheat. I use a double page, but where I don't, I just make a little fabric hinge or little paper hinge. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.